Hello and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating and, a very modern question. How has a deep, ancient spiritual path found its way onto our social media feeds?
I mean, really think about that for a second. Can something as profound as a circle of remembrance, something that's always relied on actual physical presence, really come through a device that you hold in your hand?
Well, it's not a hypothetical question anymore. It's a reality. This huge shift has given rise to something a lot of people are calling digital Sufism.
So what do we actually mean by that? Well, to put it simply, it's the migration of Sufi content, the teachings, the practices, the community, onto the internet. It's wisdom that was once kind of locked into a specific place, and now it's traveling the globe at the speed of a click. Let's actually explore what that transformation looks like.
So first up, Section 1, From Presence to Pixels. We need to get a handle on just how dramatic this change has been, moving from a path that was all about being there in person to one that exists in, pixels.
Traditionally, the path was all about direct contact, right? You would actually sit with the teacher, you join a physical circle of remembrance, you learn discipline through that companionship. But today, that direct company is often replaced by YouTube clips and Instagram reels. Those circles of remembrance have morphed into Telegram study groups, and the quiet discipline of presence now has to compete with live streams and snappy, shareable quotes.
And this is such a crucial point. For a growing number of people, their very first introduction to these profound ideas doesn't come from some dusty old book or a wise elder. It comes from a short, algorithm-friendly video. I mean, that is a monumental shift in how this knowledge is discovered and passed on.
Okay, now, this isn't just a story of loss or change. We've got to be fair here. There are some very real and very powerful advantages to this digital connection.
Three main benefits really stand out. First, there's just sheer accessibility. Teachings that were once pretty hard to find are now literally a click away. And that leads to a much wider transmission of wisdom, reaching a global audience that might never have found it otherwise. And finally, this connection fosters brand new communities, linking people across borders who are all searching for the same thing.
And this just perfectly illustrates the new reality. Borders have become almost irrelevant. A woman in Cairo can listen to a lesson being given in Fez, Morocco. A young student in Jakarta can find translated wisdom online and start a deeply personal journey right from their own room. That connection is immediate and it's truly global.
But, and there's always a but, with these benefits come some very real challenges. We have to talk about the risk of superficiality when a spiritual path goes digital. This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of the matter. At its core, Sufism isn't about pretty aesthetics or just pleasant feelings. It's about difficult inner work, discipline, sincerity, that struggle against the ego, and most importantly, a genuine transformation of the self. And that's the number one danger, right? The risk is that this entire deep path gets boiled down to just emotionally moving content. Someone watches a few clips, reads a few quotes, feels inspired for a minute, and then mistakes that fleeting feeling for the real, sustained work the path actually requires.
When you look at it like this, you can see a fundamental clash of values. Spiritual formation needs patience, it needs quiet contemplation. But the digital world, it rewards speed and grabbing attention. One is a slow, internal process that takes years. The other is all about that momentary engagement. They are in so many ways pulling in completely opposite directions.
So all of this brings us to a much deeper question. I think we need to move beyond a simple verdict of whether this whole thing is good or bad. The technology itself, it's not inherently good or evil. The real question isn't if it's good, but how it's being used. The power, and you could say the responsibility, lies completely in its application. You could almost see two potential paths unfolding. On one hand, it can be this incredible tool for good, a real doorway to remembrance, a source of knowledge that fosters humility and a sincere desire to learn. But on the other path, it can just become a tool for performance, a form of spiritual branding, a collection of empty inspirational quotes that ultimately loses the very soul of the tradition. The choice really depends on the user's intention. So let's wrap this up with some final thoughts on what this development says about our modern search for meaning. The very fact that digital Sufism exists is powerful evidence of a timeless human need. It shows that even now, in our age of algorithms and endless distraction and constant noise, the search for inner peace, for purpose, and for a pure heart is as strong as it has ever been.
And that leaves us with the ultimate challenge, doesn't it? How do we protect depth and sincerity in a digital world that's basically built to reward the exact opposite? The task for anyone in this space is to consciously fight for spiritual honesty against this algorithmic tide of superficiality and performance. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Has the internet really brought people closer to spiritual truth by making it so accessible? Or has it just inevitably made the experience more superficial by packaging it all up for mass consumption? What do you think?